The great psychologist Abraham Maslow, who sensed that his death was near, made a pilgrimage across the whole United States to visit all the people with whom he had once been friends, but who he had had a falling out with. He wanted to find out what really had happened to these cherished friendships that fell apart. And what he had learned was that it was sad, ironic, and actually finally hopeful. Each of these breakups resulted from an ambiguous interaction, and they all began with misunderstandings on both sides because there were many ways to interpret these interactions, and each party assumed the one that was least flattering about himself, when really could have been circumstances like worrying about a job or forgetting or an illness. But the interpretation was he dislikes me, he's angry at me, he did me wrong. And every one of those assumptions about the interaction were wrong. Aristotle talks about three kinds of friendship, and all of these kinds of friendship are important and necessary. They're all valid. So the first kind of friendship is the friendship that's based on the pleasure in one another's company. This is where you get together with people because you like them, probably because you might be sharing with them interests or leisure activities. And these are delightful kinds of friendship. The second kind of friendship that Aristotle talks about is friendships based on utility. Now, that's not as bad as you sound. People meet each other's needs. Customer, merchant, boss, coworker, all of these utilitarian relationships can result in affection and respect and friendship and lead to spending time together. And that too is a valid and important kind of friendship. Those kinds of friendship, however, are easily liable to dissolution. When the situation changes, the friendship will probably end or wane. The third kind of friendship is the most cherished, according to Aristotle. It's a friendship based on virtue. This is the kind of friendship that's based on being drawn to the other person because of the good that's in them. And they are drawn to us because they see the good that's in us. And they're allowed then to encourage the best in each other. These are precious and rare friendships. And these are not so subject to dissolution. They can stand the storms of life and of disagreement. The Buddha spoke about friendship too. His attendant and closest disciple, Ananda, once asked him, "Is it true that wise friends and wise conversations are half of the spiritual path?" And the Buddha said, "No, Ananda, that isn't true. Wise friends and wise conversations is the whole of the spiritual path." Now, that's a pretty startling statement. I mean, the early Buddhist scriptures talk about all the things that we as individuals do, meditation techniques, morality codes, all the different virtuous acts that we can do in order to attain enlightenment. What the Buddha was saying, however, was that none of these can be sustained without a community, without others to support and encourage us. It's just another way of saying that we can't be spiritual by ourselves, that we are social beings, that for all the good things in our lives, we depend on other people, and our relationships are vital to our humanity. You know, in our culture, friendships of all kinds are increasingly less important because market values have triumphed in all spheres of life. You know, the quest for achievement and money can take all of our time and energy if we let them. And even if we don't want to get caught up in that, we still feel pressure from others and from our society at large. And we can't really neglect our work if we're working. And we pay a price if we neglect our family. So, what can be most easily neglected then are our friendships. Getting them, keeping them. You know, friendships take time, and we have to make a positive choice to make that time. It's interesting that a money columnist in the New York Times said, the best investment of all is in the people you love and who love you. The best investment of all is in people who love you. The marketplace tries to sell us everything, but can't really sell us friendship. Yes, we can hire a therapist and treat them like a friend. Not saying that we shouldn't use those skilled professionals to help us work with our problems and become better people. But there's an epidemic of loneliness in our culture. That's what people are reporting. And a recent survey has shown that almost half of us have no one, not one person, in whom we can confide our deepest troubles and secrets. We're dying of loneliness. Psychologist Stephen Johnson proposes these questions that help us consider the state of our friendships. Here are the questions. Do you have at least one person nearby who you can call on in times of personal distress? Do you have several people with whom you can share recreational activities? Do you have people who will lend you money if you desperately need it, or who will care for you in practical ways if the need would arise? If you answered no to any of these questions, think about that. And think about your priorities and how you might want to reorder them so that your relationships and your friendships get stronger. In a wonderful book about friendship, Alan Loy McGinnis wrote, self-reliance is a valuable commodity and is very much woven into the fabric of the American dream, but it can be carried so far that it not only makes people strong, it can make them hard. It can turn into stoicism, calling people to be isolated, arrogant, fleeing from warm relationships as if they were sins of feebleness and dependence. What an arid and bitter life that would be. So these hard, mobile, isolated, and time-pressured lifestyle makes it hard to even meet potential friends. And our congregations can be a wonderful source of friendship for us. A healthy religious community has that as one of its most important roles. Years ago, sociologist Roy Oldenburg provided a conceptual friendship for looking at the kind of communities that people need. The first place he talked about is the home, the place where we are nurtured and fed and spend our time. the relationships that are closest to us. The second community is work. In a functioning workplace, positive relationships naturally develop, and people get a sense of community from their workplace, and friendships can develop there. The third is a place that hosts informal and eagerly anticipated gatherings. It's a place where people are known and accepted for who they are. They're not people you work with, they're not part of the family. You know, as they said in the classic TV show Cheers, it's a place where everybody knows your name. And our congregation is that for many people. And it's also what many of the people who visit us yearn for. They may feel isolated, they may feel alienated from their family and friends because their values have changed. They yearn for that third place. They yearn for that community. And if they don't receive a warm welcome, they could leave in bitterness and disappointment. The fact is that our culture has changed since that early writing by Oldenburg. For many, the congregation is the first place because the other ones aren't there. More and more people, for more and more people, the home is just the place to sleep, as more and more people live alone. And work may either be a place to endure or people who don't work anymore at a job. So there, our congregations take even a more important role. And it isn't just Sunday morning. It is like Mary's story illustrates. It's a place where people can come together, work on a meaningful task, and friendships can develop there. So, how do you deepen your friendships and how do you make friends? Well, see, our consumerist culture distorts our motivations in this regard. We tend to look at everything from the point of view of what about me? What's in it for me? Is that friendship serving me? If I make friends with that person, would it help me? But as the old saying goes, to have a friend, be a friend. It's reaching out to other people and being a friend to them. It's about what can I give to this relationship? What can I give to this person? In the knowledge that what we give can come back to us. Another is the way we talk and the way we understand each other. The Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh said, love is not a feeling, love is understanding. So seek first to understand, listening, empathizing, and then to be understood. And then with being aware, beware of too easy intimacy. Let yourself share affection with the other person. Let the other person know how you are doing, being somewhat vulnerable with them as the friendship deepens. And of course, all the little gestures of love, small gifts, being kind and thoughtful, sharing tasks, eating together. That third kind of friendship based on virtue, so precious. And we can only have that if we accept the person for who they are, including their flaws. The famous psychiatrist Alice Miller said, if it is very painful for you to criticize your friend, you are safe in doing it. But if you take the slightest pleasure in it, that is the time to hold your tongue. We all flourish on affection, and we are all wary of criticism. Criticism deepens the divide between people. It poisons the relationship. And relentless criticism is a sure way to ruin not only a friendship, but any relationship. And so it's important not to give up too easily on a good friendship, to let go of that consumer attitude. Is this still meeting my needs? Now, if you find yourself in a toxic friendship where people are disrespecting you and violating your boundaries, as Alice Walker said in our example and quote earlier, if they silence you, if they don't accept your deepest self, yes, then it isn't a good friendship. Then you need to give up on it. But every friendship is going to have times of difficulty and disagreement. All relationships of any depth will have to weather some storms. The deepest friendships have weathered many storms. Marian Evans, who wrote under the name of George Eliot, wrote, "Oh, the comfort, the inexpressible comfort of feeling safe with a person, have neither to weigh thoughts nor measure words, but to pour them all out just as is, chaff and grain together, knowing that a faithful hand will take them and sift them, keeping what is worth keeping, and with a breath of kindness, blow the rest away." Amen.